The morning I found out my husband had another family, the coffee was still brewing. It was 6:42 a.m. I remember the time because the digital clock on the stove felt like it was burning that number into my eyes while my whole life quietly collapsed around me. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He was upstairs in the shower, getting ready for what he said was a 3-day logistics conference in Dallas. I had already packed his carry-on. I had ironed his blue shirt. I had kissed him goodbye before he even left. That's the kind of wife I was. Supportive, organized, loyal. The phone buzzed again. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I was reaching for it because it kept lighting up and I didn't want it to wake our son. I glanced at the screen. "Daddy, are you still coming to my game tonight?" My body went cold. We have one child, a 9-year-old boy. His baseball game was on Saturday. Today was Tuesday. I told myself it had to be a mistake. A wrong number. Maybe a coworker's kid who called him uncle. Then another message came in. "Mom says you promised." Mom says. Not aunt. Not sister. Mom. My hands started shaking so badly I had to grip the counter to stay upright. The contact name wasn't a number. It said, Emma, Tallahassee. Tallahassee, Florida. We don't know anyone in Florida. I stood there staring at the screen while the shower upstairs kept running. Water hitting tile. Steam filling the bathroom. My husband humming like it was a normal morning. Like our marriage wasn't seconds away from detonating. I had never gone through his phone in 12 years of marriage. Not once. I believed trust meant not looking. But that morning, trust was already broken. I just hadn't caught up yet. I unlocked it. His password was our anniversary. That detail almost made me laugh. The message thread opened. 5 years of conversations. Pictures of a little girl with his exact smile. Videos of birthday candles. Voice messages of him saying, "I love you, Peanut." Flight confirmations to Florida that were labeled in his calendar as Texas, Arizona, Illinois. 5 years. 5 years of delayed flights. 5 years of client emergencies. 5 years of me waving goodbye at airports. My knees gave out and I sat down at the kitchen table. Upstairs, the shower turned off. I kept scrolling. There was a photo of him at a playground in Florida. The little girl on his shoulders. A woman standing next to them with her hand on his back. She looked comfortable. Familiar. Like she belonged there. The bathroom door opened upstairs. I heard drawers sliding. I didn't have time to think. I only had time to choose. Pretend I didn't see it. Or end everything. He came downstairs 10 minutes later, fresh shave, suitcase rolling behind him. "Babe, have you seen my..." He stopped when he saw my face. I held up the phone. "Who is Emma?" There was no confusion in his eyes. No shock. Just a long, heavy silence. That silence told me more than any confession could. He walked toward me slowly. "Let me explain." Those words felt rehearsed. "How many?" I asked. My voice didn't crack. That surprised me. He swallowed. One. One child. One other woman. One entire life. Her name was Rachel. He met her at a conference in Atlanta 7 years ago. It started as nothing serious. Then she got pregnant. He panicked. Instead of choosing, he split himself in half. He told her he was divorced. He told me he was faithful. He built 2 realities and managed them with flight schedules and lies. "You watched our son blow out birthday candles," I said quietly. "Then you flew to watch hers." He didn't deny it. He said he loved me. He said he loved her too. Like love was something you could duplicate without destroying anything. I asked him if she knew about me. He didn't answer. That pause was confirmation. She thought she was the only one. Just like I did. Our son walked into the kitchen then, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, are you bringing me something from Dallas?" Mark knelt down and hugged him. And I felt something inside me shift. It wasn't screaming anger. It was clarity. He stood up, picked up his suitcase, and headed for the door. "You're still going?" I asked. He looked at me like this was temporary. Like we would work through it. "I'll fix this," he said. But he still reached for the handle. "If you walk out that door," I said, steady and calm, "don't come back." He hesitated for half a second. Then he opened it. And he left. The garage door closed. The house went silent. I stood there staring at the front door, realizing something that hurt more than the cheating. He didn't choose me. Not immediately. Not instinctively. He chose the lie. By 9 a.m., I had screenshots saved to my email. By 10 a.m., I had pulled our bank statements. By 11 a.m., I was sitting in my car outside a grocery store parking lot calling a family lawyer. "My husband has another family in another state," I said when the receptionist answered. There was a pause. Then she said calmly, "We've seen this before." That sentence hit me harder than anything else that day. We've seen this before. Meaning this wasn't rare. Meaning somewhere in America, another woman was also holding a phone, staring at a text message that wasn't meant for her. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Boarding now. We'll talk tonight." Like I was still part of the plan. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied with one sentence. "I know about Florida." No response. Not for hours. As the sun went down, I sat alone at the kitchen table where I had been that morning. The house looked the same. The walls were the same color. The dishes were still in the sink. But my marriage was gone. And deep down, I knew something else. This wasn't just an affair. This was 2 households. 2 sets of bills. 2 bedtime stories. 2 versions of my husband. And if he had kept this secret for 5 years, I had no idea what else I didn't know. That night, while he was landing in Florida, I wasn't crying. I was planning. Because the next move wasn't going to be emotional. It was going to be strategic. And I had a feeling the woman in Florida was about to learn the truth too. Part 1 ends the moment I stopped being the wife who trusted blindly and became the woman who was about to take everything back. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in our bedroom with the lights off, staring at the ceiling, replaying every business trip from the past 5 years. Every missed anniversary dinner. Every delayed flight. Every time he came home exhausted and I rubbed his shoulders, believing he was working for us. He wasn't building our future. He was dividing it. At 11:18 p.m., my phone buzzed. "I can explain," he texted. No apology. No panic. Just control. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the screenshots again. The pictures of the little girl. Emma. Brown hair. His eyes. His smile. She was innocent. That thought hurt the most. Because whatever happened next, children were going to get caught in the crossfire. Around midnight, another message came through. "We need to talk before you do something crazy." Crazy. That word flipped a switch inside me. He had built a second family for 5 years, and I was the one who might do something crazy. I finally responded. "She doesn't know about me, does she?" 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Then disappeared. Then came back. No. There it was. Rachel, the woman in Florida, believed she was in a relationship with a divorced man. She believed her daughter's father traveled for work. She believed she was building something real. Just like I had. I typed one more message. "Give me her number." He didn't reply. Instead, my phone rang. I let it ring 4 times before answering. His voice sounded tense, low, controlled. "Don't call her. Not hello. Not how are you. Just don't. You lied to both of us," I said calmly. "You don't get to control this anymore. It'll destroy everything." It already did. There was silence on the line. I could hear airport noise in the background. Announcements. Rolling luggage. People moving forward with their lives. While mine had stopped. "If you contact her," he said, "there's no going back." I almost laughed. There's no going back anyway. He didn't send the number. But he underestimated something. He had shared photos. And photos have clues. That night, I zoomed in on one picture taken at a playground. In the background, there was a banner for a local elementary school in Tallahassee. The school name was visible. I searched it. I searched recent parent events. I searched social media. Within an hour, I found her. Rachel Thompson. Her profile picture was the same little girl. Emma. My hands were steady when I clicked message. I didn't type immediately. I thought about what I would want if I were her. The truth. Nothing dramatic. Nothing emotional. Just facts. I finally wrote. "My name is Sarah. I believe we are both in a relationship with the same man. His name is Mark. I attached one photo of him at our son's birthday party last year. I pressed send. My heart didn't race. It settled. Like something had aligned. She didn't respond that night. I expected that. Shock takes time. The next morning at 7:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Who is this? Short. Direct. I replied with my full name, my address in Denver, the date of my wedding, a copy of our marriage certificate. 5 minutes passed. Then my phone rang. Florida area code. I answered. Her voice was shaking. How long have you been married? 12 years. Silence. How old is your son? 9. She inhaled sharply. Emma was 5. 5 years. The timeline matched perfectly. He told me he was divorced, she whispered. I know, I said. There was no anger between us. Just devastation. We compared dates. Trips. Holidays. There were weekends he told me he was stuck in Chicago that he spent in Florida decorating a nursery. There were nights he FaceTimed her from Dallas while sitting in our home office. We weren't enemies. We were mirrors. At one point, she started crying. I defended him to my parents, she said. They thought something felt off. I closed my eyes. I defended him to everyone. We stayed on the phone for almost 2 hours. By the end of that call, something had shifted. This wasn't two women fighting over a man. This was two women realizing they had both been lied to. And we were done being quiet. Around noon, Mark started calling repeatedly. I didn't answer. Rachel didn't either. Instead, she texted me screenshots. He was panicking. I can fix this. I love you. You're overreacting. He was saying the same things to both of us. Copy. Paste. Control. By afternoon, he wasn't in Dallas. He wasn't even in Texas. He had flown straight to Florida. Rachel sent me a picture from her window. His car was in her driveway. He's here, she texted. What is he saying? I asked. That you're unstable. That you're trying to ruin his relationship with Emma. The audacity almost made me dizzy. He was rewriting me in real time, painting me as irrational, dangerous, desperate. Rachel opened her front door while we were still on the phone. I could hear his voice in the background. Low. Urgent. Then I heard her say something that made my chest tighten. Mark, your wife is on the phone. Silence. Then footsteps. Then his voice changed. Sarah. Not babe. Not honey. Sarah. You didn't have to do this, he said. I didn't have to? I replied. Rachel put the phone on speaker. All three of us stood in our separate worlds connected by one lie. You told her you were divorced, I said. I was going to tell her. When? Rachel asked sharply. Before or after our daughter started kindergarten? He had no clean answer. Because there wasn't one. For 5 years, he balanced two calendars. Now they had collided. And he was standing in the wreckage. Rachel's voice grew steadier. Leave, she told him. He tried to argue. She repeated it. Leave. I heard the front door open, then close. He was alone outside for the first time in 5 years. He wasn't inside either home. He called me again 30 minutes later. This time, his voice wasn't controlled. It was cracked. You're blowing up our family. Our family, I said quietly. Which one? He had no answer. By evening, he had checked into a hotel in Tallahassee. Rachel texted me. He's gone. I sat at my kitchen table again, the same place where this started. But I wasn't the same woman. Now there were two of us who knew the truth. Two of us who had receipts. Two of us who were no longer willing to protect him. And what he didn't understand yet was this. The emotional fallout was only the beginning. Because the next step wasn't a phone call. It was legal. Across state lines. And neither of us planned to walk away quietly. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. Her office was on the 14th floor of a downtown building in Denver. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Neutral walls. A long glass desk that reflected everything back at you, including the truth. She flipped through the screenshots I had printed. Flight confirmations. Hotel receipts. Photos. Bank transfers. She didn't look shocked. She looked focused. How much does he earn? She asked. I told her. She nodded and wrote something down. And the other child is 5? Yes. She leaned back in her chair. This is going to get complicated. Complicated. That was a polite word for what this was about to become. Because this wasn't just infidelity. This was financial deception across state lines. Shared assets. Hidden expenses. Possible child support in 2 states. He hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. He had divided our income. Our savings. Our future. First, she said calmly, we freeze joint accounts. By noon, half of our shared accounts were restricted. By 2 p.m., I had filed for divorce. I didn't warn him. He found out when he was served papers at his hotel in Tallahassee. Rachel texted me 15 minutes later. He just got something from a process server. Good. For 5 years, he had controlled the timing. Now we did. That afternoon, Rachel had her own consultation with a family attorney in Florida. We stayed on the phone while she walked into the office. 2 women in 2 different states, connected by one man's double life. Her lawyer asked her if she had proof he claimed to be divorced. She did. Old text messages. Emails. Even a lease application where he listed himself as single. Fraud. That word started appearing in conversations. Not just betrayal. Fraud. By evening, Mark's tone shifted again. No more anger. Now it was negotiation. He called me. I'll sign whatever you want, he said. Just don't drag this through court. You dragged it for 5 years, I replied. He exhaled sharply. You're going to destroy me financially. You did that yourself. He tried a different angle. What about our son? That hit. Because no matter how furious I was, I am still a mother first. He deserves stability, Mark continued. You're going to put him through a war. I closed my eyes. Our son deserves a father who doesn't live 2 lives. Silence. He tried Rachel next. She didn't soften either. For the first time, he couldn't isolate us. He couldn't tell one of us a different story. We compared notes daily. He was cornered. 3 days later, he flew back to Denver. Not to come home. To face reality. I'd changed the locks before he landed. When he arrived at the house, he didn't have a key. He knocked. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. He looked tired. Unshaven. Smaller somehow. You changed the locks? Yes. He stared past me into the house like he still belonged there. We need to talk inside. No, we don't. He stepped closer. I never stopped loving you. That's the problem, I said. You loved everyone and protected no one. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. Because there was no defense left. He asked to see our son. I let him. I will never use my child as a weapon. But I supervised the visit. And watching him kneel down and hug our son knowing he had another child in another state made something inside me permanently close. This wasn't reparable. Over the next week, things escalated legally. Rachel filed for child support in Florida. I filed for temporary spousal support in Colorado. 2 cases. 2 court systems. 1 man. His attorney contacted mine requesting mediation. Translation. He was scared. Because the financial picture was worse than I even knew. He had used joint funds for flights. For rent on Rachel's apartment during the first year. For medical bills when Emma was born. Money I thought was going into our retirement. Our son's college fund. Our future. When my lawyer laid it all out in numbers, I felt sick. But not weak. Clear. Very clear. Meanwhile, the emotional fallout spread. Friends found out. Family found out. His parents called me crying. They had no idea. Rachel's parents were furious. He had fooled everyone. And now there was no hiding. One evening, Rachel and I had a long conversation that changed everything. We have to think about the kids, she said. I know. They're siblings. That word hung in the air. Siblings point to children connected by blood, raised in separate realities. Neither of them asked for this. Neither of them deserved chaos. That was the moment this stopped being revenge and became responsibility. We agreed on something simple. No public drama. No social media. No screaming matches in front of the kids. He created the mess. We would create the structure. The first court hearing in Colorado was tense. He sat across the room. Didn't look at me. The judge reviewed preliminary financial disclosures. There were inconsistencies. Transfers that didn't match his reported income. The judge ordered a deeper review. That's when I saw fear in his eyes for the first time. Not fear of losing me. Fear of losing control. After court, he approached me in the hallway. "This is going too far." "You went too far," I said calmly. "I'm just responding." He rubbed his forehead. "I'm going to lose everything." I held his gaze. "You already did." That night, back at home, I sat in my son's room while he slept. I watched his chest rise and fall. And I made myself a promise. This would not define us. This would not turn me bitter. This would not turn him broken. Mark thought the hardest part was getting caught. He was wrong. The hardest part was about to begin. Because financial audits were underway. Custody discussions were starting. And Rachel and I had just agreed to something he never saw coming. We were going to coordinate, not compete. And when two women who were lied to decide to work together instead of against each other, the balance of power shifts completely. Part 3 ends with the war no longer emotional. It was strategic. And he was no longer in control of the narrative. That was the moment everything shifted. For 5 years, Mark managed 2 calendars, 2 homes, 2 versions of himself. He controlled the story. He controlled the timing. He controlled the truth. Now he controlled nothing. The financial review moved fast. Faster than he expected. Within 3 weeks, forensic accountants uncovered what my lawyer called systematic concealment. That's the professional way of saying he had been moving money carefully, repeatedly, intentionally. Flights labeled as client travel. Apartment payments categorized as vendor expenses. Medical bills disguised as consulting fees. It wasn't just cheating. It was calculated. When his attorney saw the numbers, mediation suddenly became urgent. He wanted settlement. Quick, quiet, controlled. But control was gone. Rachel and I had weekly calls. Not emotional breakdowns. Not revenge planning. Just structured conversations. Schedules. Custody. Child support. Future stability. The first time we discussed the kids meeting someday, my chest tightened. 2 children. Same father. Different states. What do we tell them? Rachel asked softly. The truth, I said. But age appropriate. No lies. No villain speeches. Just facts. Because this started with deception. It wasn't going to continue with it. The final mediation session in Colorado lasted 8 hours. Mark looked exhausted. He had lost weight. His confidence was cracked. His voice wasn't commanding anymore. It was defensive. The settlement terms were straightforward. Primary custody of our son with me. Structured visitation. Significant financial compensation. Asset division that reflected hidden spending. And full financial transparency moving forward. In Florida, Rachel secured formal child support and legal recognition of paternity. 2 courtrooms. 2 outcomes. 1 reality. He now had legal responsibilities in both states. When the paperwork was signed, I didn't feel victorious. I felt steady. There's a difference. Victory is loud. Steadiness is quiet. He tried one last time outside the courthouse. We can still fix this, he said. I looked at him carefully. This man had shared my bed for 12 years. He had held my hand in hospital rooms. He had built furniture in our garage. And he had built another life behind my back. Fixing it would require undoing 5 years, I said calmly. That's not repair. That's erasing. He had no answer. Because there wasn't one. The hardest conversation came later that week. Explaining to my son that dad would be living somewhere else. I didn't mention Florida. I didn't mention another child. I said, sometimes adults make choices that change families. He asked if it was his fault. That question nearly broke me. No, I said firmly. Never. Children internalize everything. I refused to let him carry what wasn't his. Months passed. The dust didn't settle overnight. It rearranged slowly. Mark moved into a small apartment in Denver. Rachel stayed in Florida. The kids didn't meet immediately. That will happen one day, carefully and intentionally. As for me, I rebuilt. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Quietly. I went back to work full-time. I refinanced the house in my name. I painted the kitchen a different color. It sounds small, but changing the walls felt symbolic. The space no longer held secrets. Rachel and I still talk. Not every day. Not even every week. But there's mutual respect there. We didn't choose each other. But we chose maturity. And that changed everything. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Mark asked to talk again. We met in a public park. Neutral ground. He looked at me and said something I never expected. I don't know why I did it. That was his truth. No grand explanation. No dramatic excuse. Just weakness. Fear of choosing. Fear of losing. So he tried to keep both. And lost both instead. I thought I could manage it, he admitted. You managed it, I said. Until you didn't. He nodded slowly. I hurt you. Yes. I hurt her. Yes. I hurt the kids. That was the only statement that truly mattered. He looked older that day. Consequences age people. I'm trying to be better, he said. I hope you are, I replied. Not for me. For the children. That's where this story ends. Not with revenge. Not with screaming. Not with destruction. But with clarity. I was never competing with another woman. I was competing with a lie. And once the lie collapsed, everything else followed. I lost a marriage. But I kept my self-respect. I lost a husband. But I kept my stability. I lost the version of my life I thought I had. But I gained the truth. And truth, even when it shatters you at 6:42 in the morning over a cup of coffee, is cleaner than living in half a reality. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. When someone builds two lives, they're not stronger. They're splitting themselves. And eventually, the split shows. I was the last to know. But I was the first to stand up. And in the end, that made all the difference. If this story moved you, shocked you, or made you question everything, don't just watch and scroll. Real stories like this deserve real conversations. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in her place. Would you walk away or fight back? Your voice matters here. And if you're drawn to powerful, emotional, truth-revealing stories that expose hidden lives and unforgettable betrayals, make sure you subscribe right now. Because the next story might hit even closer to home. Like this video if you believe the truth always deserves to be heard. Subscribe so you never miss the next story that could change the way you see love, trust, and loyalty. This isn't just storytelling. This is reality uncovered.